So hello everybody, welcome back to another SUPboarder video. This video we're going to be having a review / comparison of the two windsup boards from Aztron, the Soleil and the bigger Soleil Extreme. These are multi-sport boards, so you can paddleboard them, you can windsurf them, you can wingsurf them as well. So these boards are finished off and made in exactly the same way as the other boards in the Aztron range. We've already done a full range overview of the Aztron range, so check out that video if you want to find more about the other boards in the range. The specifications for the two boards available: you can get the 11-foot version and you can get a 12-foot version. They're both 32 inches wide and 6 inches thick. The price points are fairly similar. They come as a complete package with a 3-piece aluminium paddle, a bag, a leash and 2 fins, because this is a windsurf board, which we'll speak about in a minute. The 11-foot retails at £549 and the 12-foot, the bigger board, retails at £599. But you can upgrade to get better paddles, so you can adjust your package price point from there on. Both these boards are made in exactly the same construction as the other Aztron boards. They are double chamber boards, which means you have to inflate the internal chamber first, inflate that to 15 psi, and then you inflate the outer chamber to 15 psi, which is why there's 2 valves up at the front here. Drop stitch boards, double layer PVC boards, hard wearing, the same material as the other windsurfs we've already tested from the Aztron range. So before we talk about what these boards are like on the water and what you can use them for, let's talk about what sort of package you get and what it's like to transport these boards. The bag you get is a fairly lightweight bag, sort of stripped back. It's got some compression straps on the front there and around the sides. You've got basic backpack straps. You haven't got any padding around the back here. So it's a bag that's semi-comfortable. You wouldn't want to carry it long distances, but definitely transporting it from the car to your paddle location, it's absolutely fine. So it's a stripped back bag. It fits the board in okay, and there's enough compression straps everywhere to really compress the board nicely down. When you go to inflate your board, you've got Aztron's standard pump that comes with all of their windsurfs. Now this is a double action pump, so it pumps on the upstroke and on the downstroke, and then when the pumping gets hard, you can then remove the red nozzle like we have here, and it will just pump on the downstroke, which means you're going to pump much easier and you're going to get less fatigue in your arms. The nice thing about this pump, built-in pressure gauge is all nice. You've also got extension pieces that you can screw into the handles to make them nice and wide, and also when you're packing the board up, you can take them apart and then you can roll your pump up, roll your board around your pump nice and tight because of that. We've tested this pump before with reviews last year with Aztron, and it's absolutely fine for getting the pressure into the board, and the pressure isn't that much at 15 psi. This pump will go right up to 26 psi, so no problems there. The Aztron leash is still one of our favourite leashes out there when it comes to windsurf packages. Really cool, funky graphics in the leash. The Velcro is nice and big, so you can get it right around your calf, or you can use it as an ankle leash as well. It's a coiled leash, so it stays out of the water when you're paddling along. It's a really top leash that you get with these packages. So as I said, the standard, you get a 3-piece aluminium paddle, which is fine, it does the job. The blade shape isn't too bad, it's a little bit scooped, but it's not too heavy either, and it's definitely going to get you on the water without a problem. If you are remotely thinking you're going to get into the sport a little bit more, definitely worth spending a little bit more if you can at the beginning to upgrade your paddle, because Aztron do offer some pretty competitively priced paddles. For example, the bamboo carbon that Aztron do is worth an upgrade. It's a much lighter, more performance paddle. Basically, a carbon paddle is stiffer and lighter, so which means when you put your paddle in the water, it's going to be easier for you to transfer your energy into the board and push your board along, and it's going to be lighter to use over several hours of use. The aluminium paddle, a little bit heavier, a little bit clunkier. It's the sort of thing you'd expect when you don't spend as much money. So with the fins, you get 2 fins with these Soleil boards, because you are going to have 2 fin boxes. You've got a middle fin box directly under the universal joint or your handle right in the middle of the board, and you've got your back fin box. When you're using your paddleboard normally, you'd just be using it in the back position. But if you're windsurfing or getting into wingsupping, you definitely want to be using the center fin, because it really stops you from going downwind, gives you a lot more grip and drive to keep the board upwind when you're going back and forth across the water. So let's talk about that a little bit more, getting these boards on the water. So first off, you've inflated these boards. They are fairly big boards. You can get the pressure into the boards nice and easy with the pump, but it does take a little while because there is a lot of volume here to get into the boards. When you're on the water and you're taking them out as a SUP, you'll find them easy and super stable to paddle. The 12-foot version does offer you more glide because you have a little bit more waterline length. The 11-foot version is a little bit slower to paddle compared to the 12-foot, but it does turn around much easier. And that's also, if we look at the outline shape of the 11-foot, you can see it's a little bit more rounded at the nose and at the tail. It does offer a little bit more usability for learning to turn and get into step back turns, maybe even catching a few little waves. It's a bit more of an all-round based iSUP, the 11-foot Soleil. When you're paddling both these boards as standard stand-up paddle boards, they're not the fastest of boards because you've got a central fin box in the middle that the fin isn't in, but the box is still in the water, which creates quite a bit of drag. So they are not as quick as the standard Aztron boards without the fin box in the center. Like all the Aztron boards, they feel really stiff under your feet because of the double chamber there in the middle of the board. Gives you a good amount of stiffness there. If we look at this board in our deflection test, where we put it on a gap of 1.5 meters apart and we put 75 kilograms of weight in the middle, and they were pumped up to the recommended 15 psi, dropped 13 millimeters, which is the same as the Aztron touring boards that we tested as well. So they're fairly stiff boards. Remember, the stiffest boards in the market are around 8 or 7 millimeters, and the most flexible 6-inch boards in the market are sitting around the sort of 18, 19 millimeters. So you get a really stiff board, and you feel that when you're paddling and definitely when you're going windsurfing with it. So talking about windsurfing, what is a board like this to windsurf? Well, the big difference between using an inflatable paddleboard to windsurf opposed to a more traditional composite hardboard is you have got a lack of rail. You've got a lack of squareness on the rail. Now, a rail gives you grip when you are trying to get yourself back upwind. Now, that's really why it's important that you windsurf these boards with the central fin box, so it gives you a lot more grip when you're sailing back and forth. If you want to use these boards to get into windsurfing, you are going to be able to do that. It's a nice, wide, stable board. The central fin is going to help you stay upwind. It's nice and easy when you're first learning and getting used to tacks and jibes and just going back across the water. Definitely rig size or sizes of sails you're going to be able to take on this. It's going to comfortably take up to 6.5 meters, but also when you're starting off, you can start off with a 3 meter, nice and easy. So it's going to be an easy board to get into windsurfing. And if you're a little bit more advanced, it's going to be more of your freestyle muck about, get out with a pair of shorts, just cruise up and down the river. You're not going to get lots of performance out of a board like this, but then that's the sort of thing that's to be expected. It's more of a have fun with the family, get them all into windsurfing, and just have a board that does more than one thing. So really it hits the value of the price points when it comes to water sports. SUPing, windsurfing, and again we used it wingsurfing as well. Now this is the newest discipline that's sort of coming out, and a lot of you are asking about wingsurfing, and it's very easy to use these types of boards for wingsurfing because they're pretty set up for it. They got the central fin, which helps you stay upwind. They're nice and big and stable and stiff under your feet, so they are a good range of boards for you to get into wingsurfing as well. They also come supplied with kayak seat attachments. Back here, the D-rings are in place. You can buy a kayak seat as well from Aztron, and you can clip that on, so you could even use it as a kayak as well. It doesn't come as standard with the seat, but it is an optional extra. When it comes to deflating these boards, they are a little bit different compared to other iSUPs in the market. You take the valves out, you let the air out exactly the same, but because the valves are in the middle, you're going to have to put your pump on the deflation setting, so take the hose out and turn it around and put it on the other side, and then suck the remaining air out of the board, and then put your valve, screw it back in, and then you can roll your board up from the nose or the tail, and you can make sure all of the air is out of the board in one go. So it takes a little bit longer, but overall you do get a more compact board because you've sucked all of the air out of the board. So a little bit about Aztron. Now, Aztron have got a good range of inflatable paddle boards, but they don't just make inflatable paddle boards. They have hard composite boards. They've even got windsurf rigs. They've got a large range of accessories around paddleboarding, wetsuits, and their website and all their catalogs are all nicely finished off. So if you're interested in more of their accessories, definitely have a look at their website and check them out. Looking at the environmental awareness of Aztron, the packaging is still wrapped in plastic. They come in cardboard boxes, and the boards aren't based with any recyclable materials on them. No doubt that will change, but again, we're looking at talking more about the environmental awareness of brands with our standalone reviews to encourage brands to push towards that direction as much as they can. So looking at what board will best suit you, either the 11-foot Soleil or the Soleil Extreme 12-foot, it really comes down to when you're paddleboarding, how fast or how far do you want to travel. If you're looking to do more touring or more longer cruising based paddles, just look towards the 12-foot version. If you're looking to have more of an all-round baseboard, a bit of surf, bit of family fun, just a bit of everything, then look towards the 11-foot version. It's basically as simple as that. Now let's finish off with pros and cons and value for money. Pros, definitely having them both at 32 wide makes them really easy to stand on, easy to get into SUP, easy to get into windsurfing, and even easy to get into windsurfing as well. So really the width does help those boards. The cons, well, the boards are still a little bit heavy. It's to be expected for what's on the boards with the extra fin box and the material, but they are going to weigh a bit if you've got to carry them long distances. And the only other con is for windsurfing, it'd be nice if the deck pad went further forward up towards maybe the mid part of the bungees, because when you're getting into tacks, you're going to be walking around the front of the mast and you aren't going to have any deck pad there, and you might find it a little bit slippy. Value for money, well, they do hit a very competitive price point. There are other windsurfing iSUPs on the market at the same price point, and they probably sit comfortably alongside of them. It's really whether you like the look of the Aztron boards and like what comes as a complete package is whether you decide to go for it or not. But they do hit that comfortable price point and they sit where they should be in the market. So I hope you found that review interesting and informative. Definitely boards like this, the Aztron Soleil 11-foot and the Soleil Extreme 12-foot are fantastic boards for getting you into multiple water sports at the same time. So generally they're going to get you on the water more, which is only a good thing. Give this video a like if you found it useful, subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out SUPboarder Mag, and of course check out SUPboarder Pro if you really want to find out more information about paddleboarding and how to improve and what kit to buy. Thanks a lot, we'll see you next time.